There are many different ways you can make a quote in Mothernode CRM. So in this video, we're going to talk about those ways and why and when you would choose one method over another. So before we begin, I want to share a few observations with you. One of the common themes that we've seen with successful companies is that they constantly rely on reports to navigate their business. They produce reports routinely, they depend on those reports to make decisions. So in this case, quotes and the sales activity that they have is going to be no exception. The goal, especially in this dialogue, is going to be to keep this number as real and as fresh as possible. So there's different ways that we can make our quotes. There's actually two ways that we can start that process. We can either make a quote for a customer. So unlike other CRMs, you don't have to have an opportunity to make a quote, or you can make an opportunity and have a quote assigned with that. Those are the only two methods that you can use to create a brand new quote. Now, when creating a quote for an existing customer, we'll be talking about some other methods that I want to share with you as well, and some of these methods may only be applicable in Mothernode Enterprise. All right, so let's take a look at our leads and opportunities, and we're going to start by making a quote for one of our leads and opportunities here, okay? All right, so you can see here at the top of the list, the opportunity I'm working with here is going to be 4050. It's for a company called Banana Park, and it has a number in here that's $10,000. So right now I can know that this is an arbitrary number that's in here that the sales rep has put in because it's in plain text, okay? So that's an indication that there's no quote for this, it's in plain text. And so this is based on our experience, maybe some initial discovery and analysis to know that there's a $10,000 figure here. It could go up, it could go down, but we're going to start with that just within our pipeline to track this activity. So let's open up this opportunity over here and take a look a little bit more. Now, the first thing I encourage everybody to do is before you make a quote for an opportunity, try and get as much information as you can up front within the opportunity to make sure that it passes over to the quote. This will be beneficial when you start making multiple quotes, or if you start making multiple quotes for the same opportunity. You write it once in the opportunity, make sure it's complete in the opportunity, and then everything that you produce off of that opportunity going forward will capture all that information. It'll be less work along the way. I also encourage that when you're making quotes, you also be sure to have the proper contact information, billing information, and such, so by the time, especially in Enterprise Edition, that it gets to the invoice level, it's going to end up going into the right hands to get paid in a really timely manner, okay? So in this instance over here, I have a very thorough opportunity. It's actually for an existing customer, so this is a benefit because some of these people come over and I can choose which one is going to be the point contact for this particular quote, okay? All right. So here's what I want to do very quickly. This is the first way that I can make a quote off of an opportunity, okay? So we're going to go here, we're going to say create quote. And when we create the quote, it automatically brings in all the settings that were the defaults or the defaults for that particular opportunity or customer, okay? So it depends on how that opportunity was originating from or where it was originating from. Was it from a customer record or was it from scratch? Okay, so that would have different defaults that would come through here depending on what that was. Now I'm just going to click save here, and then we're just going to get into adding some line items very quickly. Okay, and now I'm going to use my inventory module to just add a few at the same time. I'll just add a couple of these very quickly so we can populate our quote, okay? This isn't going to be a detailed explanation of how to make quotes and all the things you can do. We have other videos that reference that. What I'm talking about in this video specifically is going to be where and when to make quotes and how to make them in certain circumstances, okay? So here's what's really important. Now we've made a standard quote. This looks typical. And when I click on show all as an example, this is going to now appear at the top of the list in my recent quote activity, okay? So it's available from the actual customer because we did make this opportunity from a customer, so it is accessible in the customer profile. But more importantly, it's going to be available in my leads profile. And you can see here, it's at the top of the list, and now we notice something different about this number. Not only is it changed from $10,000 to $6,037.60, it's bold versus the plain text below. So just by seeing the bolded text, we know that this opportunity has a hard and fast number tied to it. Okay, so it's a very easy indicator when you're looking at your quotes list over here or your opportunity values to know what's been quoted and what hasn't. Okay, all right, great. Let's go back over here to the actual quotes list itself. Now there's a couple of circumstances that can prevail here, and so in this case, often the customer comes back after you submit a quote, and you may have to go back and forth on not just negotiating on prices, but expectations may change or evolve, and products may be added or removed or substituted, etc. So in this case, a lot of people, what they choose to do is duplicate the quote, and that's actually the wrong thing to do, okay, in this case. So there's a couple of different things I'm going to show you here. First of all, we will talk about duplicating quotes and when we want to do that, but right now that's the wrong thing to do, okay? What we want to do is we want to make a quote version. And why are we going to do that? Because we want to keep this number as true as possible, okay? So by making a quote version, what we're going to be doing automatically is making this first quote inactive. And what that's going to do is it's going to not count against these numbers. All inactive records do not appear in these numbers over here. And then we're going to change the number, you'll watch and see, from 686 to 686-1. So let's see how we do that. It's very easy. All right, I'm in quote 686. Here are my line items that I have, and now the customer has decided to make some changes, so we're going to make some quantity changes in this case, okay? So down below, all I have to do is click New Version. When I click New Version, I click Yes. And now what's going to happen in this instance is that I have a new version of this quote, and you can see it's 686-1. This quote can be entirely different and changed wherever I need it to change. So obviously in this case, if you want, you can go over here to your quote entry, you can click on Edit Entries, and then you can change your quantities. So in this case here, if I'd like to, I can do that. Down below, I can do, one of 120 of these and so on and so forth. And then when I'm done, I can click Save, okay? So I've changed that quote 100%. Now, where did the other quote go? Well, it's still on file. So we'll take a look at it here in the actual quote. When I look in the History tab, you're gonna see that the original quote is available here, okay? So that original version is right here. So no matter what I did to this quote, I can get back to this one here by clicking on 686, clicking on the entry, the quote entry items here, and you can see the original quantities are preserved. So nothing has changed in this quote. Furthermore, when I look at my quote list, then over here, you can see that I now see 686-1 in the list, but I don't see the original one, okay? Now that's because I'm showing my open. It's still there, and if I want to click Show All, now it's going to reveal both of those quotes together. I can choose which one I want, but you can see this one over here is set to inactive, okay? So the next question comes is to, well, then when would I duplicate a quote? Okay, well, that's a great question, because there are going to be circumstances where you may want to duplicate a quote. You've quoted one customer a specific product or items, and then you need to quote that customer again somewhere down the line with similar products, maybe different quantities, but you just want to get started with the exact same items that were on the quote, and you can easily trim off what you don't need, okay? So in this instance over here, I can duplicate a quote. Now I can actually go into the record to do this, but there's another place you can do this that's really easy. If I want to duplicate this quote from the list, I just have to click over here on the three dots. I can do the new version, as you can see, and I also duplicate. So when I click duplicate, it says, do you want to duplicate this quote? And then of course, it will take me into the record, and now I've duplicated the quote, and it has a new number, 687, okay? So you can see the line items are the same, and then I can get in here really quickly and start removing and changing what it is that I don't want. So it's an expeditious way to start a quote for an existing account where somebody has bought something from you before with the same items and so on. And then what you can do is you can just duplicate it, and ultimately all of the information comes over, and it's a faster way to start. Now, in the instance that you want to use the line items that you've quoted one customer, and now you have an instance where another customer will be purchasing similar products. There's also an expeditious way to duplicate, just like we've seen. And now what we can do is we can take this customer here and we can change the customer. So I've created this duplicate, and now instead of giving it to Banana Park, I have some options here of the things that I want to maintain in this quote or choose not to maintain. So for instance, maybe tasks, maybe files. I don't want new ones that were created here or to be created when I change this quote to another customer. So I'll leave those alone. So I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to search for the customer. And this customer here will be Labs. We'll do here, Energy Labs. Okay, choose this one. Perfect. And now I've changed the name of the customer on this quote to Energy Labs, and it's the same items that I have. Okay. All right. Now, finally, there's one other thing that I want to bring to your attention when it comes to making quotes, and this is only going to be available in the Enterprise Edition. Why? Because the Enterprise Edition actually has orders. So if you go into orders over here, we're going to take one of these orders as an example, and we're going to look at this order right here. And you can see here that we have some line items just to see what's available here. Okay, so these the different products and services that have been added. Now, one of the features that orders has is the ability down below to make a quote off of the order. Okay, so essentially this is duplicating the order but making it into a quote. So if I click this, what happens is that it creates a brand new quote. Now we see quote number 688, and it is authentically a quote, but it's been made off the line items and all of the information that was given us in the order. Why would I want to do that over duplicating a quote? And it's recommended that you consider doing that in as many circumstances as possible, just simply because if any changes were made by a change order in the change order process for something that you have quoted for in the past, converted to an order, the changes were made in the order, let's say colors, dimensions, anything really important, then what would have happened was a year would have went by, as an example, the customer needed more. If you duplicated it off the original quote didn't have the original properties, the order did. So if you do it off of the order, you're guaranteeing the safety that the product that they ordered in the past, especially if it's being custom fabricated, is really going to be the product that they're reordering in the future. So that's how you would make quotes: duplicating, creating new versions from opportunities or customers. If you want to see more video demonstrations on quotes and all of the things you can do with them, please check out the rest of our video library or our support site. Links will be available below in the description. Thanks very much for watching.